Hello guys, welcome to my channel, Tempest Federation. To the quick warning, this video contains spoilers from light novel. This video continuation of the previous video. Problem occurred. If you have not watched it yet, then please watch the link in the description below. But before we proceed further, please like, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell for further updates. As I've mentioned, the spawn rate of monsters on the first floor was really low, and even if any were to spawn at all, they were rank F at best. That said, when appearing in a group, monsters like those could still pose a threat. Actually, whether it indeed posed a threat was subject to debate. Rather, I should say that it posed sufficient threat to the challengers. If you were to come in alone, even resting would prove challenging. With no one on guard, you couldn't even take a nap. No matter how weak rank F monsters were, they were still capable of hurting you. Certain types of monsters would launch a sneak attack on sleeping humans, and if you weren't cautious enough, you could easily wind up dead. I initially thought that these solo challengers had some great strategies in mind, but it turned out that they were just a bunch of brainlets. These reckless idiots didn't get anywhere and immediately left upon exiting the labyrinth. But to be honest, based on how they had acted, they wouldn't have lasted any longer, even if they had managed to somehow make it further down. From floor 2 onward, not only were there more monsters in the hallways, but ranky opponents would also start spawning among them. When challengers made it to floor 5, they would begin to face rank D monsters as well. If you had trouble merely getting through these earlier floors, you would definitely be killed when encountering rank D monsters. One of the challengers had a particularly embarrassing reason for forfeiting. He was starving. On every 10th floor we had set a save point, and on every 5th floor we had a safe zone prepared where water could be refilled. We also subtly reminded everyone to bring more rations. The other adventurers seemed to have made plans after analyzing Bass and Squat's experience. But that alone wasn't enough. Adventurers seemed to be a very prideful bunch, and they often ignored others' advice. Not sure whether it was the fact that they couldn't die in the labyrinth, or that they were overconfident in their abilities. Either way, many of them didn't bring any rations. If you got so lost that you were unable to find your way back to the entrance, then starvation came as no surprise. No matter how I thought about it, it was their own fault. They wanted to open as many treasure chests as possible. Although I suppose I remember how that feels if our labyrinth were truly designed with the intention to kill. I doubt there'd be anyone who could crack it even after 100 years. But at this time, the challengers were either impoverished bodyguards or mercenaries, all of whom sucked at exploration. We don't have to panic just yet. With that thought, I held my expectations for the next 3 days. Yet, in the end, not a single one managed to reach the safe zone on the 5th floor. The attempts had been miserable. That being said, we did profit off of the entry fees, which was always a plus. But if this were to continue, the adventurers would all have low morale, and chances of challengers returning would be minimal. It looked like we needed to re-examine the whole project. This unexpected matter had caused me grave concern. This being the case, I called an emergency meeting. The people attending were me, Veldora, Rimuru, and the observer, Masayuki. I also summoned Miles, who ran the project. After confirming everyone's arrival, I lead the opening statement. Everyone, it has been 3 days since the labyrinth went public, but this is not looking good. To be blunt, it actually sucks. For our entertainment. No, in order to have anyone want to return to our labyrinth, I think it would be best to provide them with a level of guidance. First of all, people would have problems reaching the 10th floor if we were to continue like this. If that were to be the case, our labyrinth would probably have to be put on hold as a result. That's why I came to the conclusion that we had to at least educate them about strategy to some degree. Rimuru is right. If we allow this to continue, there won't be a chance for me to shine, no matter how much longer I wait. Seriously. Floors 50 and below are my proud work. I really want the world to see them. I think we can give them some hints. And so, I got Veldora and Rimuru approval. Masayuki seemed to be pondering something actually, he seemed confused. He didn't know why he was here and seemed to feel out of place. After all, he got summoned so abruptly. Anyhow, it looked like Masayuki probably needed a while to regain his cool, after which I would ask for his opinion. I shifted my gaze away from Masayuki and over to Miles. Getting to see Masayuki, who he admired greatly, had left him beaming with joy. It was probably the reason why he was particularly well prepared to speak on the matter. May I have a word about it? Any suggestion is welcome. Speak your mind, there's no need to hold back. Hearing this, Miles nodded. Regarding the matter of giving hints, I hope you can be reserved about the number. It's only been 3 days and whatever adventures we had so far, each one of them had subpar skill. I have already made contact with some seasoned adventurers through the Freedom Association. Therefore, I believe that there, surely, will be more adventurers of rank C or higher with greater abilities in the future. Is it going to work? Yes. Although I can't grasp what's on Yuki-sen's mind, he did carry out his end of our deal. He contacted all the divisions of the Freedom Association throughout the land via magic communication, in order to promote us. I see, so there's some benefit to hosting one of their branches here after all. Anything else? Yes. I've asked for favors from the merchants to assist in advertising. The experienced bodyguards and street mobs that were acquainted with them also joined the cause. Their reports seemed to indicate very good feedback from the public. Both the delivery and collection of information were important. I then introduced Sauka to Miles and told her to assist him in his work. Sauka was the leader of Dark Shadows, and she also hosted the festival events with Miles. It seemed that Miles was good at dealing with people, and so the two immediately got along. I was glad that there was no prejudice involved. And with that, several of Sauka's subordinates began operating under Miles' command. As a matter of fact, even Saoi helped him out with things. Saoi was currently investigating Duke Muse's activity. I indirectly ordered him to also promote our nation during his mission. As a result, word of the dungeon even managed to reach some distant villages that weren't home to a division of the Freedom Association. In other words, we will wait for elites to gather from all across the land, and then make a decision. Indeed. This project has just gone public, Miles said enthusiastically. We have no need to rush in order to see any results just yet. I believe that we should calm down now and set our eyes on the future. Moreover, if the noblemen invest in the conquest, we can expect to see adventurers with rank B and above. Seeing Masayuki nodding in admiration, Miles seemed to be pleased. Looks like he was eager to show off his abilities in front of Masayuki. What he said made sense as well. It was all because of how much Veldora and Ramrus complained that I too got nervous all of a sudden. Bassan's entire squad combined could be considered as rank B. With their current equipment, their individual abilities were around C to C+, far from outstanding. If the conquests were handled by someone above rank B, surely, they would familiarize themselves with the Labyrinth without requiring many hints. In our Labyrinth, you could pay to have your personal safety ensured. Even if we left them to their own devices, these experienced adventurers would be able to devise their own strategies. That's right, there's no use for us to rush things. Public interest in the Labyrinth was high. Apart from magic crystals, you could also harvest materials from the monsters, and knowing that you could sell these for a pretty penny, there was no end to the number of people who came flocking to the Labyrinth. The nobles were also quick to react. Their willingness to partake in the conquest business was higher than we imagined. Some were quick-witted enough to immediately hire adventurers upon returning to their nation, requesting them to help with the Labyrinth conquest. These hired adventurers weren't driven into rash actions by their own desires. They would only operate after proper preparations and setting up plans. Right now, there weren't as many of these types of adventurers, but I expected to see a rise in number in the future. Then what should we do? We've set up an armory on the first floor. Should we have the challengers try things out over there? Try out? What can they try there? Ramrus wasn't the only one who was confused, so I began to explain my idea. I was thinking about setting up a training ground for people to practice. They can study how to counter traps and how to fight against monsters. Wouldn't that be more meaningful compared to giving them hints? We could also build a stadium of sorts along with it. Due to the increasing number of novice recruits to our nation's army, I hope that this would be beneficial to their training. There wouldn't be any fatal accidents in the labyrinth, so maybe this would provide some very meaningful combat experience.
That's it for today, guys. See you in next one. For further more update, please like, share, and subscribe. And do not forget to push notification bell.